Hi, hello, welcome back. For today's video, it's going to be a book haul, but it's a little bit different than the book hauls that I have filmed in the past and also that I have seen on BookTube before. It is going to include a few books that I bought, but it's also going to be a lot of books that I'm borrowing from my library right now. If you know me, if you've seen a few of my videos, you know that I love to use my library and I always like to remind people that if they have access to a library, then they should use that resource. So it's a book haul, but also a library haul. Also, I just want to further convince myself that I don't need to buy every single book that I read and I have access to a library, so I should use it as a resource. But without further ado, let's jump into the book haul and the library haul. The first book is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I feel like this is a very popular duology. A lot of people love this book and this duology. It's essentially a YA fantasy duology and it deals with a heist and it follows, I think, a cast of characters. So I think there might be like a found family element to this series as well. But technically, Six of Crows is the spin-off duology of the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which I have yet to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I do want to read that first, and I'm planning on reading that either through Kindle Unlimited or through my library because I always see that series available on both of those resources. But yeah, this was a half price books find, so I think it was like $5 or $6, so it was a steal. Also, it doesn't have that dumb Netflix logo on the cover, and I hate the Netflix logo on these covers. It's just such a distraction. And I think that show was canceled, and I think they did introduce the Six of Crows timeline, but they never, delved into it. I don't know. I never watched the show. But yeah, I am excited to read this one day, and I feel like I should definitely read this Shadow and Bone trilogy soon. The next book I bought was A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This is a special edition of A Study in Drowning. This is from Owl Crate. I did not buy it from Owl Crate, nor do I have a subscription to Owl Crate, but my friend found it at Half Price Books and she picked it up for me. I transferred her money. It was a good transaction. But I love this book a lot, and I feel like this special edition is just gorgeous. It's stunning. I love the artwork on the inside, and it does have a reversible cover, and it's also personally signed by Ava Reed, so that's nice. But yeah, this is stunning. I can't wait to put it on my shelves. It was a good find. It was a good thrift find, so yeah. The final book that I purchased before we get into my library haul is Where the Library Hides. This is book 2, the first book being What the River Knows, which I have not read yet, and I also don't own it yet, but this particular edition is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It was also half off. I also had a $5 credit. I literally got this hardback for $5, so I couldn't help it, and I really do want to read this duology because it reminds me of The Mummy, the movie The Mummy, and I loved that movie and that movie series growing up, so I'm very excited to read this. Since it is a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, it does have some pretty artwork on the inside, which I love, and I feel like it was such a good deal, I couldn't resist picking it up. Now on to the books that I'm currently borrowing from my library, and I have to read them in like the next month or so. One of them being These Infinite Threads. That was so hard for me to say. Like, that was my 10th time trying to say that. But anyways, this is book 2, the first book being This Woven Kingdom, or This Woven Kingdom series. I mistakenly thought this was a completed trilogy until I saw somebody post on their Instagram stories the next book in the series, so I guess it's not completed. So sorry for that mistake if you saw my reading vlog on This Woven Kingdom. This is book 2. I can't wait to read it. It's part of a YA romantasy series, and based on how book 1 ended, I am very excited and intrigued to see how book 2 is going to go. If you didn't know, this book is about clashing empires. It's very romantic, and it also has a secret identity. The main character is supposed to be a queen, but because of political dynamics at play, her and her people have been erased from the world or tried to be erased from the world. I did really enjoy the first book. I'm excited for book 2. The next book that I'm borrowing from my library is The Hedge Witch of Fox Hall, which I haven't heard too many people talk about this book, but it sounded really interesting to me. It is a standalone fantasy romance, and it's about a rebellious witch undertakes a last-ditch quest to restore magic to medieval Wales as two princes vie for her heart. So, just based on that premise alone, it just sounds really interesting. Like I said, I haven't really heard too many people talk about this book, and I don't really know the general opinion about this book, but the premise sounds interesting. It's a standalone, which is perfect because I don't have to get into a series. But we shall see how I end up liking this book. And the last book that I'm borrowing from my library is A Forgery of Roses. The premise of this book kind of reminds me of Belladonna because it is like a mystery fantasy romance. But this book follows the main character Myra, which I believe is how you pronounce her name, and she has a gift that people would kill for. She's an artist, and when she creates these portraits of people, they actually alter the person, and she hides the secret away from other people because people would use that to control her. Somehow, the governor's wife discovers her secret and essentially threatens to expose her if she does not complete a portrait of the governor's dead son that would resurrect said dead son. And to complete this portrait, she has to go to their estate, which it feels very gothic, feels very haunted. And upon arrival, she realizes that the son's death was no accident, so that's where that murder mystery element plays in. And essentially, she teams up with the governor's older son to solve the mystery and uncover the truth of what really happened. So, if you've read Belladonna before, you could see the similarities in terms of the very basic premise between both of the books. It's murder mystery, it has romance, and it's at some sort of gothic estate, and I really loved Belladonna, so I am excited to read this book. I've heard nobody talk about it before, so once again, I don't really know the general opinion about this book, but sometimes it's more fun to go into a book that way, to read it and just not know what other people think about it yet, so you can forge your own opinion about it. That is the end of my haul, my book haul, and my library haul. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you enjoyed the books that I'm borrowing from my library. I would love to incorporate that into more haul type videos somehow because I love my library. What can I say? But if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.